Hello and welcome to Cisco Live 2021. I want to thank you for joining us, whether from your living room, your car, or perhaps for some, even from a physical office space. Though we all wish we were together in Las Vegas, and hopefully we will be sometime soon, for now, we're grateful to host you, albeit virtually, as we celebrate where we've come from and look at how we can turn it up together for the future. And regardless of what industry you support or your specific job role, there's one thing we all have in common, one thing that unites us. When the world locked down, you came to work. Let's take a look at the challenges you met and overcame this past year. Well, it's clear we have a lot to celebrate, and this is just a small sampling of your grit, tenacity, and innovative thinking in a year where most of us, and let's be honest, just wanted to crawl back into bed. In the story that was 2020, you were the heroes. You helped 70% of the workforce shift to remote work in just 10 days. You enabled 93% of children to attend class virtually. And you increased VPN utilization by 124% during the pandemic. Now that's a whole lot of remote work. And as we look into the future, the recovery, the economic rebound, and the evolution of our business models, your role isn't just important, it's essential. And when you're essential, you have even more responsibility. And you've told us there are 4 key things keeping you up at night. And the entirety of this year's Cisco Live is focused on helping you tackle those. First, it's about helping you reimagine your application environment. With the anticipated 500 million applications being developed over the next 3 years, reimagining how you design, develop, and deploy applications is absolutely critical. Second is the need to empower your employees and your teams. We know how to work from home, we know how to work from an office, but now we must learn to work in hybrid environments. And that requires reliable, secure, and productive technology. And third is your ability to secure the enterprise in this distributed world. Hybrid work expands your potential attack surface and makes your environments more difficult to secure and more difficult to manage. And then finally, to enable your future business, you need to transform and modernize your infrastructure. The network is the nervous system that allows everything to work together. Each new connection brings new complexity. So how do you transform your infrastructure with the network at its core? And as you heard from Chuck and Jerry and the rest of the engineering leaders earlier today, our role, Cisco's role, is to help you address each of these. Together, we will connect, secure, and automate in a cloud-smart world. So now what I want to do is turn it over to a story of a business that, like you, had to adapt and evolve in real time. Discount Tire. In order to stay open, keep employees safe, and keep the wheels of the business turning, Discount Tire knew they had to reimagine their operating model. And that had to start with digitization. Let's take a look.
Today, Discount Tire is America's largest independent tire and wheel retailer with over 1,100 locations across 35 states. When the pandemic hit, Discount Tire faced a critical challenge. As an essential business, how could they continue to operate while keeping everyone safe? To stay up and running and honor the trust they've built with their customers and employees, they knew they had to quickly build a touchless customer experience. Having invested in the Meraki platform for their retail stores, they were poised to build new applications, automate processes, expand their Wi-Fi coverage, and create new and improved customer experiences. The changes also enable cars to move through the workbase faster, reduce wait times, and gather meaningful customer insights. Better for the customer, better for business. What could have been a business disruption turned into an opportunity to reimagine their business and use IT as an engine for innovation to reduce their footprint and create more online services.
Now, to dive deeper into this compelling story, I'm pleased to welcome my engineering partner, Eric Nip, and Gary Desai, the CIO of Discount Tire. Eric, over to you.
Thanks for having us, Jeff, and thank you, Gary, for joining us today.
Hey, glad to be here, Eric. Thank you.
So Gary, we just saw an incredible video about the digital transformation that Discount Tire is going through. I mean, you're really reimagining that store experience, the associate experience, the employee experience. I mean, talk to us about how you had to reimagine that in-store experience given the pandemic and how Cisco helped partner with you to deliver on that.
Yeah, Eric, as soon as the pandemic hit, we realized, right, we are an essential service. Mm-hmm. So we had to keep the stores open, but the job one was to keep our employees and the customers safe. Now, our classic model of selling tires is where the customer walks in, gets up and close to the salesperson shares the screen where we sell the tire with a slap on the back, and we're done. Now, the first thing was to ship about 4,000 monitors to the stores and put the second monitor about 6 feet away so the customer maintained the distance from the salesperson. That was phase one. Mm-hmm. From then on, it was continuous improvement for safety. The next step was to change our web systems to take orders in, what we call as BOPIS, which is buy online, purchase in store, make your appointment online on the web. So you don't have to walk inside the glass and talk to a salesperson. That was the second step. The third step then was to get a greeter for folks who were booking all these orders and appointments online outside the store with a mobile device, right? That required us to have a Wi-Fi outside into the parking lot, okay? Yeah. Now, once that was done and we got that under control, then obviously we eliminated the greeter and put in QR codes outside where the customers would come in with their mobile phone, scan the QR code, and we wrote another application for waitlist, which would tell them their spot in the queue as they have arrived. So a lot of automation, a lot of applications went in to get to that stage. And the next final stage after that was the touchless experience where the credit card was all automated to pass through without signatures.
It's almost like it's like listening to a digital evolution as it occurs. And what's interesting about your story is so many retailers, and you've probably had a similar experience to me. You walk into, given any one of several retailers, and there's a big plexiglass screen between you and the associate. And that was it. That was their transformation to deal with the pandemic. But it sounds like what you've done is leveraging this pandemic as a catalyst. You have transformed that employee and that customer experience, and you've actually made it a better experience, a more frictionless experience, and overall, an opportunity to get even closer to your customers by keeping apart from them. I mean, did I get that right?
You got it absolutely right. Evolution is the right word. It was, step-by-step evolution. When you combine it all, then yeah, it's a major deal. But yes, we changed the model.
So you've changed the model. You've reimagined the associate and the customer experience in the stores. I'm sold already. I want to be a Discount Tire customer. Next time I'm buying tires, I'm coming there. But what's the future look like? What's the in-store experience going to be like for me when I come next year to Discount Tire? How are you transforming and reimagining the next generation of that experience?
Yeah, and the next generation of that experience needs to be tailored to the next generation of the population. And if you look at Gen Xers, they are always on their smartphones and mobiles. They're not going to walk in and get a slap on their back. They want to buy our tires based on mobile, want to understand, how to choose that tire properly and make their appointment and get in and get out without talking to a lot of people and have that whole automated touchless experience. To get there now, we're designing systems with beacons where if you are anywhere within a radius of our parking lot, your cell phone will beep us saying the customer is arriving. And then when you come in, you will have QR codes where you scan your mobile phone in and check yourself in. Obviously, cameras are taking your VIN number and identifying who you are, right? And what your car is. And you're going over a speed bump, which is telling us what the tire tread is and what kind of a tire do you need. While you're waiting and while we're trying to schedule you, you're going to watch some monitors, some entertaining TV based on your profile. And then as soon as your number comes up, which will be very fast, hopefully, you get into the bay automated by yourself. You get in and out, 15 to 20 minutes of experience, fully automated, touchless. And what that does to you, you get the best experience. For us, it cuts the cost down, right? Now look at our stores today. It's 50% service based and 50% store where we do our sales. It's going to change. We are not going to need that kind of salespeople and real estate to support the business. We're going to just have service based. And then in the parking lot, we'll have these check-in centers where you automatically drive in, maybe a canopy for a salesperson to help if need be. That reduces our footprint by a lot, okay? Obviously, cost goes down, but more importantly, in denser localities like New York, New England, right, where you don't have much space, we can put more stores in and grow our revenue. So much different model that's going to help you and going to help us.
So, this is the definition of digital transformation. You're already so relevant to your business, but what I just heard you say is you're delivering an exceptional customer experience. It's going to drive brand loyalty to Discount Tire. You're driving a real estate optimization that is going to reduce hard dollar costs. You're going to shift your real estate from being essentially half idle to almost exclusively revenue generating, delivering a better customer experience. And you're going to open up new markets for Discount Tire to compete in because you've driven a cost efficiency through this digital transformation. That is an incredible story. Gary, I cannot thank you enough for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your story and your incredible leadership in the industry. It's great talking to you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. And thanks to Cisco.
Team, Discount Tire is a great story about transformation, transforming the customer experience, transforming the knowledge worker experience, but every customer's journey is going to be unique. Now, I've invited Jim Grubb, Cisco's esteemed Chief Technology Evangelist, to show us some technology that is going to help make that digital transformation possible. Jim, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks, Eric. That's exciting progress that Discount Tire has made. But what's next? Hybrid modes of operating, where we take the best of in-person and virtual experiences and make it even better than before. I've asked Craig Trader to join us from our London Cisco Experience Center. Craig, let's demonstrate for folks some of the new WebEx features that really make it better than before. Let's start with gestures.
Sure thing, Jim. Well, we've had reactions for a while in WebEx. The problem was that if I had to actually click in on them, I'd kind of do this, making sure I was clicking the right thing. So now we've got gestures. If I think it's a great idea, I can simply give a thumbs up, just like I would in the meeting room. If I want to give a round of applause, I just go ahead and give a clap. And again, these gestures are recognized automatically by our WebEx platform.
That's very cool. And of course, now we have transcription. So let me go ahead and turn that on my screen, and we can see the transcription that's happening in real time. It's remarkably accurate how well it captures what you're saying. Sometimes it goes back a little bit and fixes the sentence after it's heard a complete sentence. But one of the coolest latest features in WebEx is the ability to take that transcription and translate it. So if I click over here on the left bottom on this closed caption window, I can see that there's over 100 different languages that I can translate into. So for example, let me just click here on French, and now you'll see that the transcription has become French. So people that are non-native speakers can actually participate in our meeting. Now, Craig, this is great. You're at home right now. Let's show how seamless that experience is. So I'm going to ask you if you can jump off the call, head over to the office, and we'll show you some of the features on our endpoints and how we're going to make it safe to return to the office.
Sure. See you in a sec.
Well, Craig's back in the office now, and what we're going to do is show you some of the features like DNA spaces that allow you to monitor the occupancy of the building. Craig?
So the great thing is that we can detect the number of people in our office environment. And you can see here, I'm using a video system with a digital display that's pushing that information out to our end users. So I can see that currently there are 10 people in the building out of a maximum safe occupancy of 300. So I know that the COVID density status is safe right now for me to be here.
Craig, that's great for looking at overall building density. And frankly, you could put that on a digital signage, digital sign right at the front of your building. So as the workforce begins to enter work, they know that the environment is safe, that you're not overcrowding that environment. But what about using video recognition with our video endpoints to be able to count the number of people in the conference room, example? Just to, so you can notify people that there's too many people, you've got that room over occupied.
Well, for that, we can use the integrated cameras in our systems. Let me actually show you how it works behind the scenes. I'll just enable our self view so we can see what's going on. And I've got diagnostic mode on here. So now we can see you, me, and my wonderful cameraman. And I'm going to bring in my good friend Leonardo DiCaprio to help us out here to simulate too many people in the room. So you can see that it detects our face, and we've got the message up at the top right there telling us there are 4 people in this room and the capacity limit has been reached. There should only be 3 to maintain safe social distancing.
So those green boxes that we're seeing are actually doing the face detection, and those, that analytics can be used in normal times too, right? As you want to figure out usage of your conference rooms as an example.
Exactly.
All right, but what about having the meeting follow you, Craig? One of the things that you can do with WebEx is if you've created a WebEx team space and people have, joined that meeting using the WebEx application, you can now record the meeting, you can share slides, you can, create a whiteboard. Let's show folks how that meeting actually then follows you around. So if you go from home and then you want to re-enter that meeting in the office, you can do that as you walk into the conference room.
So the great thing is that the WebEx app is smart. So as I go into it on my phone here, you'll see that it automatically pairs to the video system in the room based on our ultrasonic signal. So it knows who's in the room with the system. I have my green button to join my meeting that I've got coming up with Rory, and once I hit that, it will know to use the video system. If I didn't have my phone on me, I can use the touch panel, and again, there's a big green join button there because I've pre-booked this room. But if I didn't want to use either of those things, I could just use my voice and the wonderful WebEx assistant that we saw earlier. So let's try it out. Okay, WebEx, join my meeting.
Okay, starting the meeting.
And there we go. We can see my colleague Rory waiting in his personal room for me. He's not very chatty today, but it's a nice, easy way for me to join into the meeting.
Well, thanks, Craig, for showing us some of the cool new features that will help us to redesign the future of work. And now back to Jeff.
Thank you, Jim. It's fantastic to see you in action. Now, here's what I love about the Discount Tire story and Jim's demo. It's technology that underpins and enables everything. The technology is both fixing problems and tackling challenges of today, and it's building a foundation for tomorrow, for what's next, and for where you want to take your business. And the best part is, we've only just begun. Over the next 2 days, it's all about you, the IT heroes. As Jim mentioned, we have incredible sessions lined up, sessions that will educate, inspire, and help you build for the future. Now, here are a few sessions that I'm excited to attend. The first one is a session on SASE and your on-ramps to the cloud. This session airs directly following this broadcast and covers a topic that I know is many of you are grappling with today, which is connecting to the cloud safely. So check it out on the Innovation channel. And then later today, on the Leadership channel, Eric's going to go deeper into what IT leaders and CIOs need to be thinking about in a post-pandemic world. And then finally, a session that I'm going to be attending tomorrow morning with Javed Khan and Scott Harrell about accelerating the future of work. And they're going to spend some time talking about how to empower the remote workforce and enable a safe return to the office. So as we wrap up the session, I just want to remind you of a few things. You are the heartbeat of your organization, and your work is imperative to every C-suite leader. Because market shifts don't happen during normal times, they happen during inflection points. And right now, this moment is a seismic inflection point, and you're in the driver's seat. You have an opportunity like never before to be the fulcrum of this market shift. It's your time to turn it up, to go from hero to superhero, and Cisco has your back. I want to thank you for joining us, and I hope you have an awesome week.
A seismic inflection point indeed. Great job, Jeff, Eric. Thank you to Discount Tire, and a big thank you to Jim Grubb for that great demo. We always get great demos from Jim. I love getting that time with him and his inspiration. So Stephanie, IT, this is the constant that's keeping our business running. IT continues to power business resiliency and innovation. IT, right?
Yes, that is absolutely right. And the session was all about transformation. I love those demos, Steve, of the WebEx gestures and the language translations. And even with DNA Spaces, we're seeing how we can work in a hybrid way. I also want to call out that customer video that we saw in the beginning. They showed connected justice, just an amazing case study where judicial districts are being empowered through IT modernization. This provides the tech needed for virtual courtrooms, secure court proceedings, and delivering support and supervision with mobile solutions. So Steve, can you tell folks where they can learn more?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best place to learn more is to head into our Anytime sessions. We have got a lot of new sessions and demos available to you. You're going to find them in the Anytime session library. Just jump in there. You can favorite the sessions that sound the most interesting or the most important to you, and you can watch them whenever it is convenient for you, or you can catch up on any of the broadcast sessions that you might have missed. So definitely take advantage of that.
Yep, absolutely. Subject matter experts are also here to answer your questions, so leave them in the Q&A widget right next to the video window. Next, we're hearing from G. Rittenhouse and James Mobley on SASE, Network as a Service, and your on-ramp to the cloud. Steve, tell us more about this one.
Absolutely, Stephanie. All right, so what are the keys here? Speed, agility, flexibility, more important than ever. Our teams have got to be able to connect. They have to bring users and devices together. Well, Cisco's Secure Access Service Edge architecture is a great way to make that happen. We are leveraging our heritage as the global networking and security leader. We're providing the visibility, the insights, the automation that you need, plus the security, as we always say, natively enabled, right, and embedded. We've got James Mobley, our Senior VP of Cisco's Network Services Business Unit. We have got G. Rittenhouse. I always love hearing from G. He is our Senior VP GM of Cisco Security Business Group, talking about how to leverage our best-in-class networking capabilities. Cisco Cloud On-Ramp is delivering converged, seamless, flexible as-a-service architectures. So enjoy the session, and Stephanie and I will meet you right back here in just a few minutes.
Welcome again to Cisco Live. This is an opportunity for us to have a good time with you and to take you a little bit deeper in this innovation talk. This is SASE as well as Network as a Service. I hope you enjoyed the keynote. We are very excited about taking you through this session today. I'm James. I am here with G, and we've had some exciting times. So 2021, we're extremely excited about as well. As you all know, 2020 took an impact on us all around the world. In some ways, it impacted us personally, and then also, G, it also impacted us from a business perspective as well.
Yeah, thanks, James. Wow, what a difference a year makes. Overnight, entire industries had to switch to remote work. And now the network is not just the WAN, but the internet. And so latency, security, visibility are all essential for business connectivity to applications. In this environment, traditional networking and security are even more complex. And James, I'm so excited to be with you to outline Cisco's strategy for our secure access service edge and network as a service in today's presentation.
Thank you, G. And you mentioned the network transformation. So let's take a little closer look at some of the evolution that's taking place within the network. When you think about the fact that we were all sitting in campuses and branches around the globe, you know, the network was very different, but very traditional based on our experiences over the last decade plus. And one of the things that we see is we see this tendency to go site to site. You also see the core things at the center of today's or yesterday's networks, if you will, that were anchored around MPLS, transport, core routing services, perimeter security. But when you look to the right, you begin to look at the right side of this particular diagram here, you will see that the networks have in fact changed. We're all working remotely, we're all over the place, and that is creating quite an interesting dynamic where the internet basically becomes a network. And so you begin to see a need for users to get to applications from anywhere at any time. That also begins to see a few other things begin to rise up to the top, like cloud on-ramp and SD-WAN and IP overlays, and even application SLAs, which are, you know, again, things that are just prominent in this internet-centric world. But one of the things that's also at the center of that is the internet and cloud. And when the cloud becomes at the center of things and the internet becomes at the center of things, you will see requirements begin to bubble up. And one of those requirements is around security, and in particular, architecture as well. And so with that in mind, I'd love for you now to maybe take over and let's take everyone through SASE and what that means and the impact of this environment on that.
Thanks, James. With applications moving into the cloud and users logging in from anywhere, our customers are telling us that the biggest problem they face is how to securely connect these together. Our solution is to move your secure WAN to the cloud edge. This is being referred to as Secure Access Service Edge, or SASE. SASE brings together security, networking, and visibility into one place instead of siloed point solutions you've experienced historically. We are integrating these capabilities into one single integrated service cloud. By doing this, we'll be able to better solve the problems that you face today. We can lower costs with higher productivity. We can radically simplify your operations, allowing you to focus on the high value objectives, the business objectives you have, and truly leverage your cloud migration. We can also better collaborate between the NetOps folks and the security operations teams with more operational consistency, producing faster time to value. And finally, improving your network and security with complete end-to-end visibility and control. For more than 3 decades, Cisco has created the market-leading network technologies that you all depend on. For over a decade, we have brought you cloud-native security services. And for the first time, we're bringing these core building blocks together. And even more recently, we bring in zero trust and end-to-end visibility. Now we are making it easier than ever with our new SASE bundle that allows you to transition to a single subscription service in the future. We recognize that everyone is at a unique point in their SASE journey, and we can bridge your solution to wherever you are in your journey. Whether you're looking to on-ramp traffic into the cloud, securely connect remote workers, or security from on-prem into the cloud, we can help. So let's see how this works. We're taking the entire WAN and security stacks together, providing a single cloud edge, enabling you to deliver seamless, secure access to any application on any user's network. By moving the secure WAN into the cloud, and not just a few features here and there, we're able to increase the performance. We can dynamically select the best path across the SD-WAN fabric, including providing high quality of service, optimizing SaaS applications, driving efficiency in the middle mile, and more. And the security side, we've already brought together firewalls, secure web gateways, DNS security, and CASB in Cisco umbrella. And now at Cisco Live, we're announcing the availability of data loss protection and remote browser isolation. And we'll be expanding to include workload security. JT Clay, one of our technical marketing engineers, is going to walk us through a quick demo of how easy it is to get up and running with Meraki and Umbrella integrated together.
Thank you so much, G, and hello everyone. We're going to give you a sneak peek at what we're working on for Cloud On-Ramp to extend your Meraki SD-WAN Auto VPN to Umbrella SIG in the Meraki dashboard. This is using the Umbrella SIG connector. Our remote sites have already been configured as VPN spokes, so we're ready to start the on-ramp process. Here you can see we're at the Cloud On-Ramp screen, and this is found by navigating to the Umbrella SD-WAN connector under your organization settings. Once there, we'll click the Connect Umbrella SIG, and we're presented with a form where we will input our Umbrella API key, secret, and organization. Once we've filled out this form, we can then click Submit, and we'll see that the button changes from Connect to Deploy Umbrella SIG. Once we've clicked the Deploy button, we'll then need to supply a name for our connector. Here we're going to use the name SIG US. And then we'll select both our primary and our secondary data center, here selecting Los Angeles and New York, for example. Optionally, we can select to deploy the connector as a hub and all of our sites configured as Auto VPN spokes. If left unchecked, we'll just need to deploy these later on. We can then click Submit. Once we've clicked Submit, we can navigate to our Deployment tab, where we can see our primary and secondary data center, LAX and New York City. We can then navigate to our organizational overview page, where we'll see two new networks that have names that correspond to the two Umbrella data centers that we have selected. From there, we can look at our Umbrella dashboard and navigate to our network tunnels, and we'll see two new tunnels that have been created with names that correspond to the serial number of the connectors that we have deployed in the Meraki dashboard. Now that we've deployed these tunnels, we can now apply a policy to the tunnel and start securing this tunnel traffic. Back to you, G.
Thanks, JT. That is amazing. No other vendor offers the breadth of assets and the expertise across networking and security for both on-prem and in the cloud. With Talos Intelligence, we provide the industry's most comprehensive threat prevention in real time, giving you market-leading protection. And we're building a service that securely connects users, networks, applications, all together, everything in between. No matter where you are in your cloud journey, we enable you to evolve your architecture at your own pace. We ensure that your investments are future-proof, but we're not stopping at SASE. To talk about that, James is coming back right after this short video.
In today's world, your way is the way. Now, you can get that same simplicity and flexibility across your business as a service. We're transforming how you consume and use technology with an ecosystem that's designed around your needs. That's IT your way, an unparalleled experience that ensures your business runs as you intended. That's Cisco Plus, simplified IT your way.
Hopefully you are energized by that video. I am so excited to announce Cisco Plus. Cisco Plus is the brand for Cisco and partner certified as a service offers. It gives us an opportunity to be able to take products and move those products into complete solutions to deliver really specific outcomes and unparalleled experiences. The Cisco Plus brand is just an extension of the world-class brand, which is Cisco, that you helped us to create. And then it's Cisco Plus, and that plus are all the capabilities that we will envelope underneath the Cisco Plus brand. So we're going to anchor with the brand in 3 areas, and this is something that you will see as we roll offers out that fit underneath the Cisco Plus family. We're going to anchor around simple. You've asked us to kind of simplify the way that you do business with us, simplify the experience when you're on our platforms and our offers. And so we're going to significantly simplify that and make sure that that experience is one that will bring you back time and time again. Also predictable. We want to make sure that the outcomes that we deliver are going to be predictable every time. We're going to ensure that you can trust in us to be able to deliver the service level objectives that you desire and give you that level of predictability. Also intelligence. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is being able to take lots of data and insights and then to use that insight to help our customers make the right decisions, whether those are buying decisions or whether those are operational decisions to make the adjustments necessary to achieve the value that you desire. And so that intelligence will also be another one of the key anchor points within the Cisco Plus brand. It will also give us the ability over time to make sure that the experience you see gets richer and richer as we get more and more insight. It will also be a plan or a brand where we can ensure that you can consume very flexibly. You'll be able to buy all of these offers as a subscription, flexibly consumed. And then finally, again, as we mentioned up front, this will be extensible to our partners because, again, we understand the value that our partners provide for us. We want to make sure we create the right lanes of value for our partners. So as we think about Cisco Plus and now the offer around network as a service, we will have a number of our offers that will fall under the Cisco Plus umbrella. Network as a service, as it evolves and as it comes to market, will be a Cisco Plus offer. We want to try to make sure that with network as a service that we not only leverage our leading networking capability, but also we want to make sure that we leverage the security strength that you heard G talk about. And then, of course, we're going to also talk a little bit more about visibility. Those, we believe, give us the combination that will allow you to receive and achieve the outcomes that you desire. There are a few things we want to make sure we also cover. And that is, one of those is around optimized application experiences. Oftentimes, how we feel when we go online has all to do with the application experience and our ability around traffic management and routing, our ability around visibility and assurance will ensure that the application experience is going to be the best that you could possibly have. Also, security and visibility. When we talk about what makes for that trusted environment, those trusted offers, security will be paramount. You heard G talk a lot about that. Visibility is another area that we have a leading portfolio powered by Thousand Eyes, and you will hear more about that as we kind of move into a little bit of a deeper look. But we believe that networking, security, and visibility give us a leading solutions in the network as a service space that you can leverage to get all the outcomes you deserve. Also, future-proof investment. One of the things that you've always asked us to do is to make sure that if you make investments, you've got the right bridge forward. You heard G mention this as well. But we will ensure that if you buy a SASE bundle today, that you will have a very favorable treatment bridging you into the future network as a service offer as well. We want to make sure that we continue to protect your investment. What I would like to do now is maybe go to the next one, and let's take a little bit of a deeper look. This is the architecture slide that G had also talked about. He focused a lot on the left-hand side, which is security. I'm going to talk a little bit about the right-hand side here, which is our core strength in networking. And then I want to zero in a little bit on the network as a service platform, because this is going to be key to how we differentiate and going to be key to how we rapidly move through our portfolio of offers and deliver you a continuous stream of value. So the platform itself is going to have some key capabilities. And what's cool about this is that it will give us the ability to build these capabilities once. And then when we bring new technologies and new capabilities into the portfolio, then these will already be there and they'll simply be extensible throughout the new capabilities. So what does that mean? That means that the speed at which we will be able to build offers on top of the platform are going to be unmatched. And that is going to be key. It also means that we take a lot of our leading innovations and we move that into the network as a service platform. So we're going to have API extensibility, which will create, lots of lanes of value for partners and also for other technologies that we want to incorporate into the platform. This policy engine, that means that we will have the ability to automatically distribute policy, cross-domain, across the full fabric as we need. And that's going to be something that will also simplify significantly your operational challenges. The global cloud on-ramps is going to be technology that will allow us, you heard G talk about this, but one of the key things is how do we get any user to any app, to any cloud, anywhere at any time, and having the ability with all of our world-class networking, traffic management technologies, will be able to truly leverage this global on-ramp capability from the platform, and that'll be extensible as well. In the area of ML and AI, this is an area we've done a lot of work in. We're going to talk about how that kind of plays hand in hand with our observability as well. But one of the things we're going to do is we're going to continue to evolve, and later you will see some predictive technology that continue to elevate the experience that you're going to have with the NAS platform. We also have health monitoring. Really key in cloud environments is to be able to have that always on ability to monitor the health and to assure that everything is functioning as it has been designed. Observability, this is something that we really believe in, and we believe that it is a must-have if you're going to have a SASE architecture, network as a service platform. You must have observability. We're very pleased and fortunate to have Thousand Eyes be a key part of our portfolio, and it will be one of the key technologies that you will see in our network as a service platform. And then finally, we also have here the self-serve portal. We know that everyone has different ways that they want to experience the platform and our offers. And one of those is through a self-service portal, and that capability will also be made available, through the cloud platform. And that will be certainly something that not only our customers, but also our partners can take advantage of. And so this is kind of a look beneath the surface, if you will, at the architecture level. And one of the things I would love for you to be able to see now is a more simplistic view of what this really looks like through a demonstration. And I would like to ask Yarden Harev, who is one of our technical marketing engineers, to come and to give you a sense of not only the simplicity of what the offer could look like as we evolve it and we deliver it down the road, but also the power in the simplicity. And so with that, I want to turn it over to Yarden.
Thank you, James. With the Cisco WAN as a service, we will interconnect any user to any application. That user could be working from home, working from the branch, or they could be on the road. We'll be able to connect them to any application. That could be a private application or a SaaS application. It's built on top of the Cisco Cloud, which is a network of global points of presence that was built and is optimized to carry customer traffic in a secure way that is powered by Cisco Umbrella's security. All of that is served in a single unified subscription, allowing customers to scale up and scale down as they need in a very flexible way. With the Cisco Secure WAN as a Service, we not only interconnect all those different entities to each other, but we also give you a very simplified, single pane view into everything that's connected to your network, whether those are remote users working from home, sites, either Meraki or Viptela, web traffic, and private or public apps, together with a broader view of the uptime of the Cisco cloud and the amount of threats that were blocked by our service. With the Cisco Secure WAN as a Service, we also want to give you simplified management of your network across your user sites and applications. And this is really the goal in this overview page here. We really care about you seeing how well are your users connected to applications, and whether that is seeing how many users are online, what is the state of connectivity of your sites, how many threats were blocked, or how well your applications are performing. You'll be able to see all you need in this page with a very simple drill down into the things that you care about as an administrator. So as I go to the policy page here on top of the screen, I can very easily see what policies are applied and which identities they are applied to. So I can apply the same policy to Viptela sites, to Meraki sites, and to remote users in a single click. I hope this helps you understand how the Cisco Secure WAN as a Service could help you in the future, so stay tuned for more details. And James, back to you.
Thank you, Yarden. I really appreciate you going through that, and hopefully that gave you a sense of not only the simplicity, but also the power of looking at those use cases, use cases where you begin to see the flexibility of the connectivity. You begin to see that holistic policy distribution as well around policy management. And so hopefully that was perfect for letting you know that even though there's a lot of value and technology beneath the surface, we've got a really smooth, simple, predictable, intelligent platform that you'll be able to experience. And so now this kind of brings us to the end of our journey here, hopefully through the lens that G presented on SASE, walking us through the SASE journey. What I presented to you around network as a service, giving you the opportunity to see where we're going and what we're going to be delivering to you down the road. You got a chance to see and experience what the power of networking, security, and observability is going to mean. And you also got a chance to see the Cisco Plus brand for our as a service offers, which is going to deliver a trusted degree of outcomes and experiences for you. I know your journey in Cisco Live is not over, but what we want to make sure you do is you see on the screen here some resources that you can also click to get more insights around SASE and Cisco Plus brand. And then you also have some other sessions that we would love for you to be able to check out to give you more insight on networking, more insight also on our observability offers. So with that, I want to just thank you again for the trust you place in Cisco. We thank you so much for attending this session and for attending Cisco Live. And we hope that the rest of your Cisco Live journey is a great one. Thank you.
Welcome back. So good. What a great session. G and James really talked about how to leverage Cisco's best-in-class networking, security, and cloud in a way that's easy to consume, simple to use, and deliver as well. And I know everyone wants to learn more about SASE, myself included. We have live demos available in the Cisco Showcase. Go to the World of Solutions and click on the Cisco Security booth. From there, you can review demos or click on live demos to learn specifically about SASE, SecureX directly from the product experts themselves, or start a live chat to get all of your questions answered. Steve, are you having fun here at Cisco Live so far?
I am having so much fun, and especially with you here, Stephanie, on our innovation channel. We've got so many great conversations happening that a lot of you can't see offline happening across social media on all of our different channels. And I really am hoping that all of our viewers are jumping in using hashtag Cisco Live. We really want you to make the most of your Cisco Live global event. A great way to do that, by the way, is by joining the Cisco Gateway. The Gateway, if you haven't been there before, it's our inclusive customer community, 17,000 members worldwide, every bit as passionate about Cisco technology as all of you are. So as a Gateway member, you can build powerful connections. You learn from other top experts in your field. You will have that direct gateway right into everything Cisco. So if you want to join, just visit cisco.com/go/thegateway. Just click on your region. That's it. You're in. You can join that conversation. All right, Stephanie, I've been sitting in this chair for a while. I feel like we need to maybe move, shake up a little bit. What are we going to do about that?
Yes, I agree. Me as well. We are actually about to take a dance party break thanks to our sponsor, Intel. So wherever you are, maybe you're at home or you're in the office, but it's time to get up, stretch your legs, get moving with this dance party break. But first, we're going to learn all about the awesome resources for the technologists out there with Cisco Champion Radio. So let's take a look, and we'll see you right afterwards.
Somewhere out there, some really smart people are having a great conversation about the very latest. The latest analytics tools, the latest breakthrough in AI and machine learning, and you want to listen in? Cisco Champion Radio, a podcast by technologists for technologists.
All right, here we go. It's another dance set. This one, it's sponsored by Intel. Let's go. Let's have some fun. Let's turn it up. It's DJ Nick hanging out with you guys. Let's have some fun. Now, I know you guys can have a little bit of fun while you're at home, right? So get up, wave your hands back and forth. Nobody's watching you. I know I've done it with you guys in Vegas. So I know that now on a global stage, virtually, we can all do it together. Let's have some fun. Let's enjoy ourselves. Cisco Live 2021, that is what it's all about. It's about bringing everyone together, even if it is globally and virtually this year. Let's have some fun. Now here's a good build up. Here's a good build up. 1, 2, 3, let's go. All right, only 30 more seconds in this little dance break. Come on, let's go. Once again, a huge shout out to our sponsor of this dance break, Intel. Thank you so much. Everybody, hope you're having fun. Cisco Live 2021. My heart rate's going now. Thank you guys. We'll see you guys. Let's have some fun. It's DJ Nick. Come on.
Oh, yeah, there we go. See, this is what we need. So much fun. Thank you so much to Intel for sponsoring our dance break and to DJ Nick for keeping it lively for us. We hope that you enjoyed that, and we will keep bringing you the fun all day long, along with all the technology right here on the Innovation Channel, so please stay tuned. All right, next up, we're going to reimagine the Internet for the Future 2.0. Now, back in 2019, Cisco introduced Internet for the Future. Well, we flash forward, here we are building on that foundation with more groundbreaking innovations in silicon, in optics, software, systems, and all of it reimagining networks at massive scale. Well, our next segment welcomes industry leaders who are taking our internet access to that next level. Rapid digitization, 5G, they're creating these incredible possibilities for so many of us. But here's the thing, not for every one of us, and that is a real problem. An inclusive future for all requires network transformation, the thing that changes the economics of the internet for every one of us and changes them forever. So we've got Kevin Wallenberger, our Cisco VP GM Engineering, and we've got Jonathan Davidson with us, our Senior VP and GM of Cisco's Mass Scale Infrastructure Group. Plus, we've got some of the biggest and most innovative customers out there, Azure, Lumen, Smart. I am really excited for this conversation because we are going to learn how new innovations are changing the internet for the future. So as always, thank you for tuning in, for joining us here on the live stream. In just about 8 seconds, we're going to send it over to Kevin and Jonathan. I hope you're having fun today on the Cisco Live broadcast. Don't go anywhere. Enjoy.
I want to create stories that take people through new worlds like a roller coaster. Filmmaking is a creative medium that uses a lot of moving parts. And the faster technology gets, the better it is for a creative person. It's building and it's growing faster. And I see that happening with Cisco.
Between the film industry as it is and the film industry as it will be, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
The digital divide is real. In fact, there are over 3 billion people around the entire world that have either no connectivity or underserved, which means they have less connectivity than they need. The real question for all of us is, how do we enable to connect the next billion users around this planet? Well, we at Cisco believe that this can be done through innovation and dramatically lowering the cost of both buying and procuring equipment, but also being able to manage operationally that equipment as well. Back in December of 2019, 15 months ago, we actually launched the Internet for the Future, where we talked about innovations in silicon, systems, and optics. And less than 15 months later, we have a whole new set of innovations to talk to you about today. We have, since then, 9 new additional pieces of silicon to add to our Silicon One portfolio, which brings the total to 10. We also have completed our Acacia acquisition, which brings in a whole new set of digital coherent optics, as well as the future of how networks will be built that we are calling routed optical networks. So with that, what I'd like to do is hand it over to my friend and partner, Bill Gartner, to talk about all the innovations that are happening and how you're going to fundamentally change how networks are built for the future for the internet.
Thanks, Jonathan, and I'm delighted to be here today. I want to tell you a little bit about what's happening with routed optical solutions, routed optical networking, and some of the innovation that's going into that. Traditionally, networks have been deployed with at least 2 and sometimes 3 distinct layers: an IP layer for packet services, an OTN layer for private line and OTN services, and an optical layer that really efficiently manages the capacity on the fiber. But that also included ROADMs that were used to bypass routers that were considered to be the most precious resource in the network. There were good economic reasons for doing this 10 years ago, but it led to significant complexity with separate control planes, separate data planes, separate planning and operations, and separate product life cycles. This multi-layer architecture led to really significant operations complexity with separate management solutions for the IP domain, separate management solutions for the optical and OTN domain, and no way to really optimize things between those layers. Now, as we look at the network economics, what we know is that the interconnect of those layers is where there's significant cost. That optics interconnect is something that we have to figure out either how to reduce the cost or change the architecture to eliminate that cost. In 2019, Cisco acquired Luxtera, and Luxtera has developed an industry-leading silicon photonics platform. They really delivered on the promise of silicon photonics, which is to leverage the semiconductor industry and its manufacturing processes to achieve scale in the manufacturing of short-reach optics that are used in data center and telco applications. More recently, we were thrilled to close the acquisition of Acacia. Acacia's coherent portfolio has applications outside the data center in things like metro, long haul, and subsea applications. But one of the key innovations that Acacia brings is in delivering coherent pluggables that replace the need for chassis-based transponders in many applications. This enables a massive architectural simplification. Additionally, these pluggables allow us to capitalize on some recent trends towards open systems. Historically, optical systems were closed, but Cisco is strongly supportive of industry consortiums like TIP and Open ROADM, which are driving disaggregation and open solutions. These provide customers with increased choice and eliminate the fear of vendor lock-in. As we look to simplify networks and eliminate layers, just look at the chain of products that are required to get a signal from a router into the fiber today. A router port has a short reach optic that connects to a fiber jumper, that connects to a short reach optic that is part of a transponder sitting in a chassis, that then has a long reach optic that finally connects to a ROADM that delivers the signal onto the fiber. As we delayer the network and leverage some of the newer routing and optics technologies, we can eliminate many of these interconnects, simplifying operations and significantly reducing cost, space, and power. The future is much simpler, leveraging high-capacity router ports and ZR and ZR+ pluggables, DWDM optics, and the economic benefits are real. CapEx savings arise from the elimination of discrete optics and systems, and OpEx savings arise from reduced power and space and overall simplification of operations. We'd be happy to engage you directly to see how you might be able to take advantage of some of these innovations to drive benefits in your network. Now, Kevin is going to speak about innovation in mass scale routing.
Thanks, Bill. To take advantage of routed optical networking, we've had to revamp our entire mass scale portfolio. So whether it's the NCS portfolio in access and aggregation, the ASR 9K in the edge, or the Cisco 8000 in the core, we've rebuilt the entire portfolio to enable ZR and ZR+ optics. And we leverage iOS XR from end to end to enable us to deliver seamless services across this network. We enable protocols like segment routing and EVPN to really enhance the services that our customers can offer. Segment routing's been around for almost a decade now, and we're enhancing and enriching that network stack, allowing our customers to do things like advanced performance monitoring across the routed optical network, circuit-style segment routing policies, and even point-to-multipoint technologies to enable services to run across segment routing that could never run before. Then we can enable services with EVPN, enabling better service resiliency and point-to-multipoint service delivery with technologies like eTree. Once we build that network infrastructure, we have to automate it. And so our focus is to deliver visibility, action, and insights across the network in an inherently software-defined and autonomous infrastructure. We leverage cloud-enhanced technologies to scale, and we can deliver across multi-vendors and across multi-domains. And then lastly, we have to make sure that whatever we deliver is scalable and adaptive to whatever our customers need. Back to you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Kevin and Bill, for just a phenomenal tour through all the great innovations that the team has been coming up with around silicon, systems, optics, and software. I could not be more excited about the transition of network architectures, really the first major transition in over 30 years. So let's now hear directly from our customers on their thoughts on routed optical networks.
So when we talk about mass scale infrastructure, Microsoft is building some of the largest networks in the world. What are some of the challenges that you see as you scale out a network like that?
Well, job number one for us is reliability. The customers who home their online services on things like Microsoft Azure depend on us for all the traffic flowing through their services. So we have to build networks that are fully redundant. Our software has to maintain those networks running at high quality, and they have to be really big. As you mentioned, Microsoft runs one of the largest clouds. That means that scaling up, being able to continuously add capacity to our network, even while we're in full production, is a critically important thing. Another thing we worry about is power and cost. We have to make sure that as our networks get bigger and bigger, they actually leave enough power for the servers in our data centers and aren't consuming too much of that footprint. We also, of course, worry about cost because the premise of the cloud is that we can build a very large shared cost-optimized infrastructure, which then we can virtualize so that each of our customers can have exactly the private data center, the private virtual networks that they want to see at low cost.
So as we see this continued network growth, we see silicon and optics as being critical technology components in these infrastructures. How does this influence how Microsoft thinks about their network as you move from 100 gig to 400 gig and beyond?
Okay, great question. Again, we continue to see ourselves adopting new technology as soon as it becomes available. We're working with the industry to actually make sure that the technologies we need to improve the data centers become available. Types of things that we worry about there is making sure that we can collect all of the components of our system into a single well-managed network. Part of that, making sure that we have technologies like 400G, 400ZR optics available at low cost and high quality, and then we can manage them using the same software. In our case, that's Sonic. We're looking to take the software for open networking in the cloud and deploy it across all of our systems, from our smallest single ASIC pizza box router to the various largest chassis and wide area network devices that we use. And that includes all of our optical line systems as well.
Microsoft's definitely leading the industry when you look at open systems and things like Sonic. What are some of the values of Sonic when you look at how we're partnering on Azure?
Well, so Sonic's been a critical technology for us at getting high quality and reliability out of our network. What we found is that by being able to run a single open sourced network operating system on all of our switches, we get battle hardened, battle tested code that we know is working across all these roles. The more customers begin using Sonic, the more testing that software gets, and the more availability everyone using it in the network can receive. It also makes it easiest for us to roll out new features and capabilities and tie our network devices directly into our network management platforms so that we can manage our network devices the same way we manage our servers.
As usual, thanks a lot for the time. We really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Dave.
Thanks again for having me.
Hey, Rob, thanks very much for joining today. Really happy that you're able to join us for this session. And we wanted to just get your thoughts on a few things. So starting out as a network provider, what are some of the important business objectives that you have in creating the future?
Yeah, and thanks, Bill. At Lumen, we're really energized around furthering human progress through technology. We want to be an enabler. We want to provide a platform that opens up innovation and creativity for our customers. We want to offer that full solution so that customers can focus less on how to put together all the network components and really focus more on their innovation and the amazing things that they can do. For Lumen, it's really about establishing this hybrid cloud, embed it with security and dynamic networking, and then provide it all really in this digital experience that allow our customers to interact with it and control it how they like.
Great. So what are some of the challenges you have to deal with as a network provider in delivering on that vision?
Yeah, our objective is to provide 5 milliseconds connectivity into that platform for our customers. So it will be distributed. The good news is that we have a pretty extensive fiber and network footprint to achieve that level of performance. Now, providing consistent features and capabilities across that full footprint is a little more challenging given the different generations of kit that we have deployed, different ecosystems that interact with them. That's complexity that we can't transfer on and make transparent to our customers in this digital experience. It needs to be a simple and consistent offering. Our customers interact with it the same way wherever they're located, wherever they need it. So yeah, as a network guy, that can be challenging to create that consistent experience and make it manageable for operations. Scale of these networks continues to be a challenge. Scale presents itself in different ways in different segments of the network, but growth of the internet has continued to impress me, and I don't anticipate seeing that slow down with so much focus that we have on closing this digital divide, over-the-top services, 5G, others. And we've been ready for 400 gig for actually quite some time. And as we get that rolled out, we will still have some very large link bundles, even with 400 gig. But it tends to be the logical scale that's more challenging. We can put together large physical networks and make that work generally, even if it's not ideal. But the constraints and things like logical customer interfaces, instances, memory for routing and forwarding, performance data, those have been probably the more common and the more difficult obstacles to overcome.
Great. As you think about overcoming some of those obstacles, how do you think about converging IP and optical as perhaps a way that can help simplify things in your network?
We tend to think that flat is better. It's not better in all cases, but yes, layers imply transitions, imply cost, imply complexity. So if we can collapse those layers, there's definitely some value to be gained. We've been preparing for this IP optical convergence for many years, and there have been some opportunities that we've taken advantage of, but they haven't really been these consequential shifts in architecture, and even some of the value that they bring can be offset by operational complexity or other factors. While we're still early, there's some real potential in some of the open optics work being done, specifically for 400 gig right now. For IP traffic across our backbone, optical gear really still dominates the cost equation. So these developments around open optics, they're really intriguing if it can, radically change that cost structure, which we think it may. So you'll have fewer network transitions, fewer points of failure. You'll have the economic benefits, and those things I think are mostly given. How we effectively manage such a network is still an open question, I think. But if we can solve that, and I suspect we will, this could be a real inflection point in the path to convergence.
Great. Well, we certainly share your view on that. Rob, thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
Jorn, thanks so much for being here with us today. Just a few questions we'd like your thoughts on. So as a network provider, what are some of the important business objectives you have in creating the future?
Yeah, first of all, Bill, thank you for having me. It's always fun to talk about these things. So I think the business objective have been largely influenced by the last year, this massive pandemic, which basically changed the life of our customers. Therefore, much more than ever before, connectivity has become a basic need. Even more, it's a question of survival, because people don't have a job if they are not connected here in the Philippines. So it's not only a question of survival of our people, but also for the economy, because if people have no job, the economy will be influenced. Now, most important for customers, whether consumer or enterprises, is actually reliability. They want to be sure, regardless at what time of day they access their service, it is always of the same kind of performance. So reliability comes before speed. And that's something I think we have to put more focus on. And for enterprise customers, I can only say the move to the cloud has accelerated, I think, by an order of magnitude. Everything is moving online. That's the only thing, the only way to survive for many SMEs. SD-WAN is going through the roof, and also the need for security related to all this online stuff, right? And 5G comes just at the right point in time, because it gives us more capabilities to connect people at higher performance and more speed.
Great. So as you think about some of those objectives, what are some of the challenges you face as it relates to the network?
We were discussing this over the last years, also with you guys, that. I think we had to overcome a number of paradigms. When we started to do data, we were coming from a voice-centric network. And congestion in a voice-centric network is part of the architecture. You can accept that in the busy hour, you get a busy tone, you dial again. But in the world where data, the access to data, to the internet, has become a question of survival almost, a basic need, congestion is not something we can accept anymore. So customers really want us to give them something which they can rely on. Therefore, we, as a number one target, set ourselves the idea of a congestion-free network, which needs a different architecture than we had built before. Then for us, it was very important to move to a highly resilient, highly scalable architecture. And it is not enough to just build a network. We have to look to what services we are running there end to end. So the network, in a way, needs to be service aware or service optimized. And just in the last year, the new challenge which came about was the flexibility to move capacity around. Because when the pandemic started and the lockdown came, 30–40% of people moved out of the CBDs into the provinces or into the suburban areas and started to work from there. So while overall the data grew maybe by 30–40% in that time, in those areas we had 3 to 4 to 5 times more data. So the need to shift capacity has become also a very critical capability. So it needs to be part of the architecture and not just a problem to be solved going forward, because I don't think the world will come back to the old style. People will stay online and they will want to work from home when they want, and they will go back to the CBDs when they want. So we need to be flexible in our ability to reply.
Yeah, I totally agree. What are some of your thoughts on compelling reasons to try to converge IP and optical?
So I think when it comes to building networks congestion-free, highly resilient, highly scalable, simplification is key. It is critical to cope with the increasing scale and also the increasing innovation speed we are facing. So technologies which help us to achieve that, like converging IP and optical, which is, in my opinion, is a no-brainer, right? It was, a concept since long, and now we are there. Also, the thing you guys are doing, these pluggable DWDM optics, which provide an enormous flexibility and cost benefits, will help us to create simpler architectures, which are easier to maintain and also easier to automate. And then we can also apply algorithms which help us to move from a reactive maintenance into a predictive, big data-based maintenance, which can help us to, become more resilient and reliable.
Jorn, thank you so much. That's some really, really good insights for us. And I think you share some of the same objectives and challenges as many of your peers around the world.
Thank you, Bill. Pleasure always.
A huge thank you to our phenomenal customers for joining the session, as well as both Kevin and Bill. As you can tell, we could not be more excited about the future of networking with routed optical networks. In fact, we have 2 additional tech innovation sessions if you'd like to learn more about this. Thank you all and have a great day.
It's called the digital divide, a gap between those that have access to the internet and those that don't. And with technology advancing at blinding speeds, so too grows the gap, wider and wider. And in rural America, this gap separates more than 30 million homes and businesses from high-speed broadband service.
Here, where I live, my internet has to keep up with me.
And for me, it's a lifeline. Fortunately, between those who have and those who don't, there's a bridge. Built on a network foundation designed to deliver the fastest speeds, the most accurate connectivity, and the promise of 5G. A bridge capable of connecting every sensor, IoT device and screen, every school and every street, everywhere, every time, and with the speed, bandwidth, reliability, and security deserving of everyone. A bridge, simpler to operate, faster to deploy, able to adapt in real time. To better connect those in need with those who provide, those who make with those who buy, those who teach with those who learn. And one company is at the heart of it all, a company of builders dedicated to a world of connection between one and all. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
All right, and welcome back to the Innovation Channel. Our thanks go out to Kevin and Jonathan, also to Robert, Joaquim, and David from Lumen, from Smart, from Azure, for those expert insights into Internet for the future. Stephanie, we just saw such a valuable look at future-ready capabilities and initiatives. These are being developed and driven by the world's most influential brands. What was your big takeaway and highlight from this session?
Yeah, super great session. It was really good to hear from Jonathan. He's such a good job at explaining technology in such an easy to understand way, about how Cisco is really revolutionizing the economics of the internet. And he touched on how this will change how the internet is actually built from the ground up, making it way more cost effective, and therefore may help bridge the digital divide in areas that still lack connectivity. So a lot of good work going on here. Proud of Cisco for this. Hopefully you are all enjoying day 1 of Cisco Live 2021. Make sure to stay connected with us through social media. Use the hashtag Cisco Live and tag us in some notes. You might be watching us on a host of different platforms, but if you have time in between watching all of these amazing sessions, check out ciscolive.com/2021. You have the opportunity there to engage in trivia, explore the world of solutions, share in the social hub, so much more ways to engage and learn with Cisco Live. We are now going to check out a video on how to get fast, reliable internet to rural America. This video is all about how Midco is working with Cisco on a service provider network agreement that has been able to create tens of thousands of Spectrum channels. This helps more folks work from home and more folks learn from home as well. So we're going to watch that first and then check out a couple more videos on Thousand Eyes and accelerating the future of work. Let's watch those right now.
Rural America. 60 million people stretched thousands of miles across farmland and small towns. A landscape that's always been full of challenges. Today's challenge? Getting fast, reliable internet services to the people that live there, whether for a business, a student, a patient, or a sports fan.
People are consuming internet at ever-increasing rates, and we've tried to stay not up with that, but ahead of that. Midco is trying to bring high-quality service to small-town USA.
But when demand changes rapidly, a new solution is needed. Working with Cisco, Midco now has one in the form of a service provider network agreement, a new licensing structure tied to usage.
You pay where there's a direct tie to revenue. Since we signed that agreement, we have literally turned up tens of thousands of Spectrum channels. It was a great way for us to respond to the COVID work from home migration because people were using a lot more symmetrical services like video conferencing.
Midco is no longer limited by the lack of good rural facilities for its network. With Cisco Remote PHY, Midco is getting internet to wherever it's needed.
It allows us to deliver a quality service in excess of 100 kilometers, where before it just simply wouldn't be possible.
This is helping reimagine life in rural America.
It's solving the needs of today while keeping an eye on the future. There's no greater feeling than turning up a brand new high-capacity internet service where there was none before.
Today's campus environments rely on an ever-complex web of digital services reaching across the global internet. Every day, users access externally hosted applications, cloud services, and multiple ISPs over hundreds of networks. But with no visibility over these networks and applications, it can take hours or even days to locate and fix problems. Problems that directly impact your service outcomes. Ensuring service delivery on campus requires visibility off campus, end-to-end, from switch to SaaS and everything in between. That visibility has arrived. Introducing Thousand Eyes Service Assurance for Catalyst 9000, now part of your DNA software subscription for new and existing Catalyst 9K customers. With Thousand Eyes, you can see every network hop across the internet to SaaS applications, your data center, and cloud-based services. Thousand Eyes Vantage Points are now included on your Catalyst 9000, so you can quickly and easily start seeing beyond your own network. With comprehensive insight across service providers, you can pinpoint issues fast and fix them, or escalate them to the right party. So you can deliver the experience your users expect and your business depends on. The industry's best enterprise switch now has the industry's best SaaS service assurance solution. Thousand Eyes and Catalyst 9000. Your view of the network just got a whole lot bigger.
Stay tuned for the blockbuster hit of Cisco Live. Coming soon. Accelerating the future of work.
Yeah, absolutely love that. Hope you enjoyed that preview of what is coming up here on the Innovation Channel tomorrow, day 2 of Cisco Live 2021. We've got a super short turnaround time here, headed into our next session. I want to take a quick look at our upcoming agenda. Cloud networking from the edge and back, easing into change with Meraki and the digital workplace evolved, accelerating cloud adoption, hybrid cloud operations, and then at the end of the day, So excited for our talk with James Cameron and the return to Pandora. I think that's going to be really, really remarkable. I hope you're going to stay with us all the way through for that. All right, so very excited for our next session coming up right now. We've got an amazing futurist with us, Mike Walsh. He's here to provide us with an insight into the organizations and the leaders successfully navigating this period of change. Take a look.
Hi. It's a great pleasure to be speaking to you today at Cisco Live. Although I do need to be honest with you about something. 2020 was not a great year to be a futurist. Probably wouldn't have been a great year to have been a psychic or a fortune teller either. You know what? I get asked all the time, how is it that you failed to see COVID-19 coming? And it's true, I completely missed the coronavirus. And yet, in many ways, I don't think that was my real mistake. My real mistake was underestimating the capacity of some external event like COVID-19 having the potential to not only change the world, but essentially to bring the world of 2030 forward a decade to today. And that is exactly the unusual position we now find ourselves in. Although arguably it isn't the first time we've seen a civilization scale event like this. Go back 100 years to the Spanish flu of 1918. And what is fascinating is not just the striking similarities with today in terms of masks and quarantine and social distancing, but really the extraordinary social, political, economic and cultural changes that were also unleashed by that virus. I'll give you a simple example. Take the position of women. So many men had fallen sick from the virus or had died in the war that women during this period were forced to take increasing positions of responsibility and authority. This, more than anything else, set the stage for the universal right to vote some years later. There were similar big changes in technology. Take a look at this ad from the New York Telephone Company, advocating the benefits of this disruptive new technology known as the telephone, perfect for staying in touch with friends or colleagues that might be trapped in quarantine. Now, you'd be tempted for thinking this ad came out in 1918. It actually came out a good years earlier, in 1910, at the height of an earlier cholera outbreak. You see, by 1918, so many of the human operators working in switchboards had fallen sick from the virus that telephone companies were begging their customers not to use their telephones, for fear they might in fact overwhelm the network. It's a timely reminder that then, as now, that even in a time of accelerating technologies, when it really comes to transformation, it's still human beings that really count. And I have no doubt that similarly, as we now move into this time of rapid change, we are also fast moving into a completely new world, a world that also runs on very different rules. That is what I want to talk to you about today. I've got 3 new rules I want to present to you. And here is the first. I believe that there is no longer any such thing as digital disruption, just digital delivery. Let me explain. Digital disruption. I feel like we've been talking about this for years, and I'm sure by now you know all the cliches. You had Airbnb disrupting the travel and hotel business. You had Uber disrupting the taxi and transportation business. It was like there was something special about these types of companies, as if they alone were given permission to think outside the box, to innovate, to disrupt, to do things differently. Well, if the last 18 months has made anything clear, it's simply this. We are all disruptors now. If you haven't figured out a way in this time of a pandemic to leverage automation, to leverage artificial intelligence, to work remotely, then if you haven't figured out how to truly become a digital business, well, you're probably no longer in business. When I say digital disruption doesn't exist, what I mean is it's no longer important in the way that it's become table stakes. It's become the price of doing business. It's just part of getting things done. What we really talk about now is digital delivery. It's just the part and parcel of 21st century business. If you want to get to the heart of what's really going to drive transformation in the next 5 to 10 years, then you've got to think bigger. You've got to think bolder. You've got to come up with really an answer to a more interesting question. I mean, take grocery. In the first 6 weeks of the pandemic, suddenly every supermarket realized they would have to pivot to delivering to customers at home, which required not only a whole new plan for logistics, but in many cases a completely new technology stack. But there is a big difference between being a grocer that can now work on digital channels and being, say, an Ocado, a $17 billion business, which is not just an online grocer, but essentially a technology platform that provides solutions for groceries across the world. You see behind me one of Ocado's hives. This is a constellation of robots which move at the pace of 6 meters per second. They can take a 50-item grocery order and pack it in the moment of minutes. There is a big difference between just operating on digital channels with leveraging digital technology and investing in data to really finding out how to become an AI-powered organization. Ultimately, we are now asked to answer a very difficult question, which is, what is now possible in an age of AI that was simply not possible before? To answer that question, I think we need to get to the heart of 3 core principles. Number 1, we have to figure out how we can now reinvent the way we deliver value. Tesla for me is an interesting example. I mean, what is behind Tesla's extraordinary run-up in its stock price? Is it its ability to design beautiful cars? Is it its mastery of EV battery technology? Is it its founder's unfortunate habit of sending out provocative tweets on Twitter? Well, probably none of these things. And probably more to do with the circuits that you see behind me. This is the Tesla Autopilot. It's proof that Tesla doesn't design cars. It designs computational stacks on wheels. And as you can see from this video, when Tesla does a software update, it is really a thing of beauty. What distinguishes one high-priced Tesla from maybe a cheaper one is often nothing to do with its hardware, its leather, its fit-outs or accessories. It's all software. Tesla's figured out how to increase and deliver value at zero marginal cost. It's all code. And the ability to transform a very traditional industry such as automotive and change the way its supply chain operates to being something that's completely based around digital and data is really the hallmark of a 21st century disruptive organization. But the second principle for me is that it's not just enough to digitalize. We also have to ask ourselves, how do we now virtualize? Part of the traditional digital transformation model is finding ways to digitize your processes end to end. But a much bigger opportunity is to ask yourself, well, how do we now look at those assets and resources and processes in a completely new way? Very interesting company is this company called Buildots from Israel. So what they started doing was putting cameras on the construction helmets of workers working on a site, so they could start to build a real-time digital twin of a building as it was in progress. Now, McKinsey estimates that site mismanagement costs anywhere between $1.5 to $1.6 trillion every single year. But what if, rather than sort of relying on traditional conveyancing methods and site management to work out where a building was, you could have a real-time digital view of that building? It would not only change the way you manage a project, it potentially would change the way you finance and manage risk as well. That is an example of virtualizing an asset rather than simply digitalizing a 20th century one. The third principle for me is your real goal as a leader in the technology community is to build for insight, not just infrastructure. You know, it's fascinating when you look at an organization like Uber Eats, because they've been able to not only build a very efficient technology stack to run the business, it's all geared with building more and more insight. So they have so much information, not only on the efficiency of their deliveries and how people are interacting with the channel, they can actually start to build a picture of the kinds of foods that people want and use that to actually seed restaurants that don't even exist. So in recent years, Uber has actually launched over 7,000 completely virtual restaurants, essentially by just looking at the pattern of searches and working and pitching the idea of restaurants to chains to actually fill gaps in needs that they can see through their data. And this is really building towards a future where we're going to have ghost kitchens that essentially supply restaurant brands that don't even exist in a bricks and mortar sense. So for me, it's really about thinking about the end point of what do you get when you now have more data, more computation, more learning algorithms, it isn't just more efficiency and more speed. More is different. At some point, you can have entirely new types of organizations, new types of platforms, new types of businesses. And finding that approach allows us to really think about what's possible in this new world. The pandemic has accelerated the digital reinvention of the world. This new era of AI-powered competition will reshape industries and organizations forever. So reinvent how you deliver value, virtualize your assets and processes, and build your infrastructure for insight. I want to give you a next action to consider as well. Constantly challenge your own assumptions about the future. Ask yourself, what are you missing? What can you learn from the youngest members of your team? Can you better incorporate their frame of reference and their experiences into your own ideas and plans for transformation? I also want to give you a mind grenade. It's like a challenge question you can think about later. What are 3 things that you thought were impossible that were in fact proved possible by the most recent pandemic? Rule number 2, there is no such thing as remote work, just work. So remote work's been something we've been talking about a lot lately, and in many ways I think the novelty has started to wear off, because while at first we were sort of entranced by the idea of not being in an office and we focused on the technology issues, suddenly we realized that the hardest part of remote work was not the technology at all. It was family interruptions. It was the cultural challenges of getting people to work effectively when they were in fact used to working together. And in fact, this is really a core insight, because it's often easy to try to focus on upgrading technology. But technology just changes, in a sense, the hardware of your organization. If you really want to change, you've got to figure out how to make culture your operating system. And this is not easy, because it's often the hardest thing when you have a new disruptive technology to figure out how it changes the way that people in an organization make decisions, the way they do things, the way they get things done. If you look at sort of the history of disruptive tech, long before AI, mobile phones, social media, probably the most disruptive technology was in fact electricity. And electricity had its iPod moment, if you like, in 1831 when the British scientist Michael Faraday invented the electric dynamo. Now this should have been the moment which unleashed a wave of transformation in industry. But actually it took a little bit longer than people expected. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. It actually took almost 82 years before someone came along, in this case Henry Ford, and said, so this electricity idea, this probably means we can not only power factories in a different way, we can design them in a different way as well. This was the origins of his idea of the moving assembly line, which was an early form of automation. But essentially what happened was, in the early 1900s, they'd just go to a factory, they'd take out a steam engine out and they'd put an electric engine in. But they'd leave the whole infrastructure that had been there since the early Industrial Revolution. It took almost 100 years for someone to say, do you know what, this can fundamentally change the way we operate. We're not going to have 100 years this time. So if we can't very quickly figure out how AI, automation, algorithms, better security, how all of these things transform the way we do things, then we're in serious trouble. When I think about 21st century organizations, it's not the where that's changing, it's the how. And in particular, I think there are 5 attributes or values that will characterize modern business. And they are mobility, autonomy, memory, objectivity, and velocity. So let's talk about these. Mobility. Does it really matter where you are if you're trying to get something done? Now, you might think this question has been absolutely answered in the last 18 months, but I think we're just at the beginning of this journey. And the reason for that is that in many ways, remote work technology is nothing new. I mean, we've had prototype video phones since the 60s. But what's really changed, I think, is the bigger cultural question of how we create distributed organizations that allow decision-making to happen anywhere. Think about it. When we start to move back to a more hybrid office, will it matter whether you're working from home or whether you're sitting in the boardroom? If it does matter, then you haven't really solved the mobility challenge, because it's not the bandwidth or the VPN or the collaboration platform that matters. It's the way you set up influence and decision-making and authority that really gives you your powers of mobility. The second characteristic, I think, is autonomy, which is ultimately the ability of your teams to make decisions without central control. It's a defining characteristic, I think, of success. A little while ago, I had the opportunity to interview Harit Talwar, who's the head of the consumer division at Goldman Sachs that launched Marcus. Now, you'd remember Marcus. It's one of the world's most successful digital banks. And I was fascinated because this was a startup that was essentially born in a 150-year-old, very traditional, very conservative investment bank, Goldman Sachs. And initially I thought that Marcus's success all came down to its ability to pair a fantastic business model with great technology. But Harit actually said, Mike, please don't call us a technology company. We're a customer solutions business. He said a big part of our success is actually our organizational structure. Everyone at Marcus is also part of these consumer-facing pods. They're like agile teams who are highly autonomous. They have the ability to focus on a consumer issue, and they've got the authority to solve it. And it says that ability for people to be part of those agile teams, regardless of their functional role, has really been core to the success of that business directly answering customer needs. The third characteristic for me is memory. We often talk about the power of being learning organizations, but what does that really mean? So when the pandemic first hit, I spent quite a bit of time researching companies that actually never had offices. They were designed to be remote from the beginning. One such company is Zapier, software automation firm. I interviewed their CEO and founder, Wade Foster, who told me that one of the smartest things they learned early on was the importance of recording their key decisions. So whenever a key decision gets made, they record not only the outcome, but the thinking behind it and any data they used. This is fantastic when you're trying to bring new team members up to speed on the culture of your decision making. But it also allows new people to actually challenge decisions as well by looking at the underlying assumptions and whether they've changed. The fourth characteristic for me is objectivity, which really is the ability for anyone in the company to use facts and data to challenge even established ideas. This to me has been one of the reasons why Amazon has been so successful. It isn't because they've built fantastic infrastructure or their massive investments in logistics. It's because they have been very focused on creating a data-driven culture. A great example for this is the fact that at Amazon, they have banned PowerPoint. Now, I don't know what you think about this. I think this is a great idea. I mean, think about all of the hours, the weeks, maybe the years of your life you've wasted in endless PowerPoint presentations. It isn't that PowerPoint is bad, but rather that Jeff Bezos believes that if you're going to get a decision made, it's better that people come in rather than with a big presentation, with a highly structured, carefully thought out 6-page memo that someone's put a lot of care and thought into creating and curating. And the idea being that if you clearly identify a hypothesis, what's in it for the customer, and you have data to support up your argument, you're going to have a much higher quality discussion around the decision that actually needs to get made. The fifth and probably most important characteristic for me is velocity, or the speed at which teams can respond to situations. In the early days of the pandemic, I spoke to Sandeep Dadlani, who's the Chief Digital Officer at Mars. And I said to him, what have you learned from the crisis? And he said, it's been extraordinary. He said, everything that my digital transformation team has been working on for the last few years essentially came into being in the first 6 weeks of the crisis. He said, I'll give you a simple example. He said our logistics team was full of people who had these incredible familial relationships, but suddenly, when the pandemic hit, they couldn't operate the way they used to. People were now working from home. So rather than in the old days of picking up the phone and calling someone you knew who was working on the factory floor, who'd then look out the window and say to the truck driver, listen, can you hold up? We need to load up some more pallets. People now had to rely on digital systems, and they became more data-driven, and they became more objective. And they started asking more piercing, probing questions about the sources of demand and supply. And all of this essentially sped things up. Sandeep said it was like they found out a way to improve their internal clock speed. And believe me, once you've done that, there is no going back. So these 5 forces for me are really the core of what a 21st century organization looks like. It's why remote work is just the beginning of a much bigger revolution that is changing the nature of business itself. So as you start to think about a next action on this point, create a discussion channel on your collaboration platform. Use WebEx Teams to create a hashtag transformation topic and share stories about things that are not only going on in your organization, but in other organizations or in other industries. And as a mind grenade, here's how I would challenge you. If you had the opportunity to redesign your infrastructure today for the post-pandemic world with no legacy systems and all the lessons of the last 12 months, what would you do differently? Rule number 3, AI will not destroy jobs, but it will change them. We're going to see increasing uncertainty in the next few years about the role of automation and employment. People are going to be worried, but should they? Interestingly, if you look at history, in the early days of automation in the American Industrial Revolution, when they first brought automation, say, to the cotton industry, you can imagine the weavers were upset. Literally, here was their livelihood under threat. But in many cases, they didn't lose their jobs. Their jobs changed, because rather than doing the physical weaving, they now had to maintain the machines that did the work for them. But as a result, the cost of cloth began to fall. People started to buy more cloth. And in fact, the number of people employed in this industry at the height of the Industrial Revolution in America between 1830 and 1900 didn't go down. It quadrupled. Something very similar happened in the financial services industry in the late 60s, early 70s when they brought in ATMs. Yeah, okay, you didn't now need as many bank tellers in a bank branch, but this meant it was cheaper to open up bank branches. So banks did just that. They opened up many more branches in many more places. Interestingly, there are actually more bank tellers today working in financial services than there were before the ATM. But that's not the point. You see, you need a different kind of person with a very different set of skills. And that is really, I think, the core of the issue. How do jobs now need to change in a world where we increasingly have more automation, more data, more technology? And in particular, how do leadership jobs need to change? You see, I think we need to become new types of leaders. I think we need to become algorithmic leaders who can combine a deep understanding of human complexity with a flair for computational thinking. In a way, we need a new set of leadership principles to guide us. And that is really where I want to leave you with today, with 3 principles. Number 1, when you automate, think about how you can elevate. So Shell is an interesting case study. They're facing an increasingly decarbonized energy future, one that's going to require probably more knowledge of AI, machine learning, data analytics in order to run increasingly complex and adaptive energy grids. So interestingly, Shell realized they have lots of geotechnical engineers or people that have got incredible math skills. So these people they're now trying to migrate by giving them more and more lessons and materials on artificial intelligence and machine learning and data. So in order to transition their workforce by identifying the capabilities they already have. So when you automate, think about how you can elevate the talent and capabilities in your team and organization. The second principle for me is learn how to better embrace uncertainty and, in fact, to anticipate and design in failure. So the F-35 fighter jet has been one of the most expensive and problematic fighter planes in history. It cost a fortune to build and it's not really working as planned. And interestingly, one of the biggest problems is the maintenance software. The maintenance software essentially is requiring engineers to log 10,000 hours of data that should be collected autonomously. And this means that in many cases the planes are not flying when they in fact should be fit to fly. So when the Department of Defense commissioned a report on this, the Atlantic Council actually recommended that the DoD spend more time looking at companies like Netflix and Amazon. You see, at Netflix they've got something called the simian army of chaos monkeys that they deliberately unleash onto their systems to basically unleash uncertainty and ambiguity. They actually build failure into the systems in order to test and to track things that are likely to happen. And by doing this, they make their systems more resilient and more robust. Similarly at Amazon, when they specify problems, they have a specific language in which rather than just trying to identify what could possibly go wrong, they actually identify what has to go right in order for the system to function. So by anticipating failure, by embracing uncertainty, they build a more robust platform. The third principle for me is probably the most important, which is If the answer is X, learn how to ask why. There is no doubt that we're moving into a time with increasing risks of not just cyber attacks and data breaches, but algorithmic bias and AIs that are potentially discriminatory. And there's no point waiting around to see who's at fault, when this is exactly the moment when we have to develop and nurture the right moral compass. This applies both to engineers and programmers as well to business leaders, because now is the time that we have to really think, what are we building these systems for? What data are we using? Is the data underlying bias? What are we optimizing these platforms around? These are deep and, in fact, moral questions that are essential not only for designing equitable platforms, but ensuring that we bring our humanity as leaders to the table. So what I'm really saying is, as we look to the 21st century, we're going to need a whole new playbook of leadership principles. I've given you 3 principles today. I've actually got another 7. If you're interested in learning more, please take a moment to check out my book, The Algorithmic Leader. I believe leaders are more important than ever, but we have to evolve and adapt. When we automate, we have to elevate our teams. We need to prepare for failure and embrace uncertainty. And most importantly, we need to be ready to challenge the future with a strong moral compass. As a next action, ask yourself, what can you do as a leader to better drive digital transformation? Write a personal transformation plan for areas of change, either technological or cultural, that you can influence in your role. And as a final mind grenade, I'd say this. What are the behaviors and beliefs that made you successful in the past that, if you continued in the future, would in fact undermine your progress? So I hope you found this interesting. It's been a great pleasure talking to you today at Cisco Live, and I'd love to stay in touch. So please take a moment to follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. And if you'd like the summary slides from today, you can find them at mike-walsh.com/go. Right up front, I challenged you about what's really at stake here. It's so much more interesting than just a period of recovery from an incredible global crisis. We are truly at the dawn of a new world, a world that's going to run on very new rules. So what's going to happen as we accelerate out of this crisis? Is it going to be a new renaissance or a new boom? Well, I hope so. But ultimately, it'll be up to us and the decisions we make now. Because now is the time for us to rethink how we engage our customers and our communities. Now is the time for us to redesign where and how we work. And now is the time for us to reimagine our role as leaders. Because now, more than ever, is truly a time for transformation.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike Walsh. Really eye-opening, so inspirational. Well, it's time now for some incredible performances just for you, our viewing audience. It's been a massive start to Cisco Live 2021. Great day one. We are really excited to be underway with the program and even more excited for what's coming up right now. 2 very special performances for you. Both of these artists are joining us from Los Angeles, California. First up on the program, we have an impressive vocal performance by Pentatonix. They have won 3 Grammys for their incredible style of a cappella. Their YouTube channel boasts over 19 million subscribers. They have sold out shows all over the globe. The group has received multiple RIAA certifications for multi-platinum, platinum, and gold-selling albums and singles, plus a Daytime Emmy nomination. They have starred in 3 holiday specials for NBC, and they appeared in the feature film Pitch Perfect 2. Cisco Live is so excited to welcome Pentatonix, but that is not all, right, Stephanie?
That's right. I love Pentatonix, and I also love BB Rexa as well. We are being joined by global superstar BB Rexa as a diamond certified selling artist with multiple Grammy nominations, numerous #1 hits, and a songwriting career under her belt. BB definitely is a force. And not only excelling on the pop, dance, and rock charts, she holds the title for longest reign ever by a female artist at #1 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart for her song Meant to Be with Florida Georgia Line, and it held the top spot for 50 consecutive weeks. Her debut album Expectations landed her a Best New Artist nomination at the 2019